Can you walk us through a typical day in your life as a CEO?
Well, the simple answer to that is no, I cannot, because there is no, genuinely, I know it sounds like something that you would say, but there is honestly no typical day. So before, and the other thing is as well, I don't mean to be condescending, but you genuinely cannot imagine what it's like to be a CEO until you are one. You know, even if you've got peers that sit around you, you're the guy that makes the decisions and the guy that upsets people or makes people happy on a daily basis. But every day is different. So it's very, it can be very, of course, it can be very challenging. It can be oppressive when you feel like you're the guy at the tip of the spear making the decisions. And it's all about people. So before I was a CEO, I thought I would be making decisions about, you know, general business decisions, maybe engineering decisions. And of course I make those as well. But the majority, or the vast majority of decisions that I make are about people, and they're about future and sustainability of the business and things like that. So, I mean, a typical day, I'm normally up, well, not normally, every day I'm up before 5. I normally make a cup of coffee. I start reading my emails. I'll then start to think about what's happening during the day. I check the diary because I live and die by my diary. I'm generally showered and out of the door certainly before 7:30, and I'm always in the office before 8. As soon as I sit down in the office, there's a whole bunch of things. This morning it was this. Before this, I was in a one-to-one with our head of HR. After this, I've got other meetings to go to. And it's just very non-typical. So I might have a day when I'm sat with our head of marketing and we spend 2 hours talking about the future of, you know, how we're going to do marketing within the business. And that's kind of quite, I like those kind of fun meetings because I've got time to discuss stuff. But the next day might be just a relentless, you know, meeting after meeting after meeting. So unfortunately, I can't describe an average day. I don't get one. I don't think other CEOs get one. And it's, like I said at the beginning, to kind of top and tail it, it's one of those jobs that genuinely, you just can't imagine what it's like until you're in it. So I got the job in February of 2019 as the Emrill CEO. And in September, I had my first vacation since then. And I went home and kind of almost fell apart because I had a week when I just kind of breathed out and went, oh man, what's happening? And then I kind of felt like I understood it a bit more, and then I came back and started to kind of try and at least compartmentalize things and rationalize my time and things like that. But yeah, it's kind of crazy sprint.
What do you think are some of the most common misconceptions that people have about being a CEO, yourself included?
I think the biggest misconception, I can say this without any shadow of a doubt, is people might look at me and say, he doesn't do anything, because they have an output. So they, you know, if you're in a manufacturing environment, they make things and you have to make so many of them in a day. If you're a CFO, you have so many financial things that you have to do. If you're a commercial manager, you have so many documents that you need to process and get them out by the end of the day. If you're a CEO, you don't necessarily have a defined output. So, like I said, I might, you know, when you asked me the question before, I might be sat in a 2-hour marketing meeting where we're talking about how we're going to spend our marketing budget over the next year. And then I might go for a business lunch with somebody, but it's all business. And then I might spend 2 hours or whatever writing a report to the board on the, I don't know, projection of 5-year projection of business in our region for our industry. And when I was a project manager, I always said, and I realized the best project managers look like they don't do anything because they're so good at organizing things. So they've got everybody doing things at the right time, they're coordinated with other people, and it all just flows. And then they kind of stand back and oversee that, and it looks like they don't do anything. I think the best people, and I'm not saying I'm the best, but I think the best people look like they maybe don't do anything. And you maybe, if you look at some of these kind of people that, I don't know, maybe Bill Gates or maybe Jeff Bezos or maybe somebody like that, and you know, they do all these kind of things outside of work, and you think, I wonder if they actually do any work anymore. But of course they do, because they're the guys behind, you know, they kind of drove everything.
So you said that at least once a year you try and step away. Is that complete time for yourself, shut down,
Absolutely
don't open an email?
Way. No, I try is the word. Try very badly, I guess, because if I literally just turned my phone off, I can't imagine people would like think I'd been hit by a train or something, you know, because like every single day when I'm on this vacation, and I haven't taken a 3-week vacation now for a while, but every single day, me and the CFO would be talking on the phone or texting, and the phone never gets turned off, so I'll be answering emails. If you're engaged with a business, if you're at C-suite level and you believe in what you're doing and you've got any kind of passion and ambition, you don't switch off. And that's why people don't retire. And most of us spend, at least most of us that started from a working class background like me, started with this idea of achieving your ambitions, being financially independent, and being able to retire. And that's what most people spend their working lives doing.
Yeah.
And then if they're very successful and they get to the point where they could, they probably don't. Because you've been engaged and driven and ambitious and passionate your whole life. And if you turn that off, then you can't cease to be the person that you would. So you might switch to be something else. And that's where what I take these inspirational people, like him or not, Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, they might change what they do. So I think Bill Gates kind of does a lot more charitable work and altruistic type stuff. But I think he's still just as passionate as he ever was when he was 30 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't get to switch my phone off, and I don't get to switch my emails off, and I guess I maybe choose not to do that. Maybe I could, but I don't.
What about work-life balance? How do you tackle that?
Well, you could look at this 2 ways. So I don't have one, but you could look at that 2 ways. So what I say, so I could choose to say I don't have any work-life balance because I'm just always working and my phone never goes off. So if you phone me at midnight, I'll answer the phone. If you phone me at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'll answer the phone, and I'm still doing that at lunchtime and whatever. But I don't really see it like that. So what I actually say now is I don't really have a job. I just be me. So I turn up every day and I just be me at work, and I'm still me when I go home. So people have commented when they've met me at a weekend or out of work or in work that I'm just the same. And I think that's the only way you can sustain it, because if you came into work, say, 10 hours a day or whatever it works out to be, 12 hours a day in an office or whatever, and you kind of had this act where you kind of switch on, you put the suit on, you switch on, you sit down at 8 o'clock and you be this person, and then you switch off at 6 and you go home, you would never be able to sustain that.
Sounds exhausting.
It would, because you're pretending to be somebody, and then you go back and you be somebody else. And I don't believe these people that say, I leave work at work. I get in the car and I leave and I go home and I leave it all at work. I'm like, well, maybe you don't care that much about what you do, because I can't do that.
It's hard to shut down completely, isn't it, when you, like you say, passionate about something?
I think it's impossible.
Yeah.
So, but the way I look at it is I don't have a job anymore. I turn up and I be me, and I'm still me at 8 o'clock at night when I've gone home. If I'm lucky enough to not be working at 8 o'clock at night, I'm just still the same guy that I was at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I guess you have to just look at it in a different way. And I think that's all part of a personal journey of, we've got 12,000 people now at Emrill. We're incredibly successful, and I feel the weight of that on my shoulders. And if I came in and put that yoke on for 10 hours a day and then tried to take it off at the end of the day, I would burn out very, very quickly. So I have to I guess I just have to take that on as it's almost, that sounds cheesy, but it's almost just a lifestyle.
With being a CEO, you've obviously got to balance the strategic planning, all of the board, keep everybody happy. How do you balance all of that with the everyday in and out of running a company? It
is hard, it is, and I guess you have to discipline your mind. So like anything, if you want to get good at running, which I try to, and we were talking before, and I haven't done it for a while, so I need to get fit again. If you're an academic, you need to exercise your brain frequently. And I guess if you're in an organizational role, a CEO or a high-level director, you need to be good at switching roles and organizing yourself. So what I always used to find difficult is, as a CEO, you may be thinking about a 5-year strategy. I'm writing a 5-year business plan for the board, and I'm thinking about in that kind of mind frame. And then our technical director would come over and say, because I'm an engineer, he would say, can you review this engineering problem with me? And I'd say, no, I can't, because I'm in this frame of mind right now and I need to get this finished, and then let's talk tomorrow when I can be in an engineering frame of mind, because it's an entirely different, like a 5-year business plan is sometimes quite abstract concepts like combined annual growth rates and things like that, whereas engineering is generally absolute, and so it's a different kind of mindset. you know, again, and then dealing with certain different problems. So it's just about, I think, agility, spinning plates, if you want to call it that. You know, you have to just, and it's just, I think it's just a training thing. You know, you train your mind to adapt, you train your body to adapt. You know, you don't spend your whole day running, but if you want to get fit, you have to go running. And you know, it's like separating, trying to put at least some separation. So I'm doing this right now, this interview. But when I leave, I've got to go and sit down and do a one-to-one with somebody about a wholly different subject, about something different about the business. And I can't kind of take this baggage and go and take it into that meeting. So you have to kind of draw a line and go, okay, now I need to kind of switch my mind.
What habits or routines have you developed to keep yourself productive and focused throughout your career, and especially as CEO?
You've got to try and be as healthy as you can. You know, I try and keep fit, and you know, we were talking about the last 6 months, and I've neglected that, and I'm feeling the consequences of it. And I think it's so important to try and eat the right foods, keep yourself fit. There's a huge amount of kind of even kind of almost undercurrent of you know, if your body's not healthy, your mind's not healthy. You know, we were just talking about trying to compartmentalize things, and that just comes with practice and the ability to kind of move between situations. It's just a skill. I think like every skill. I used to race motorbikes, amateur level, and I was once very fortunate enough to do a class with a Grand Prix guy. And I said to him about natural talent, and he said it doesn't exist. And he said he has to practice so hard. Because I said, oh, you're lucky. You seem like you've got natural balance, and you seem like, you know, you're just a natural, whereas I'll never get to that point. And he said, don't believe that. You know, he said, I have to practice all day, every day. He lives his whole life, like any professional athlete, lives their whole life in the pursuit of that one thing, and they have to practice it. And I just think that's the same for everybody. I genuinely wasn't born with any, I mean, people might tell you I've got no natural talent as a CEO, I don't know, but I definitely wasn't born knowing how to do it. And you have to build up to it, practice it, and keep practicing it. I also play the guitar very badly. And I was just saying to my wife, she was saying, you haven't played guitar for a long time, I haven't seen you with a guitar. And I said, no, and I bet when I pick it up now, I'm a lot worse than I used to be, because it's one of those skills, like I think most skills, that if you practice it, it doesn't stay the same. You actually get worse. And so when you go back, you then have to kind of start from it's like you've gone backwards. So I think, you know, if I took 2 years off and then came back to this job, it would take me time, you know, to get back into it, because it's an ongoing kind of learning process.
Has anybody ever come up to you and asked, how do I become CEO?
Recently got a phone call saying, what does a CEO do? And it was quite funny, because somebody I know got given the job of a CEO and then said, what do I do? Because it's a very, like I said, there's nobody to tell you what to do. Of course, I've got a board that give me direction. They might say, I don't know, grow the business or become a billion-dollar company or whatever, but as the CEO, it's for you to forge the path and come up with the ideas and find the way forward. So I actually had a guy that said, I've been promoted, I've just got a job as a CEO, and I went, that's fantastic. And he went, what do I do?
Now what?
Yeah, literally, now what? Because there's no real job description, you know, and I mean, you kind of get one, but it doesn't, you know, if it was so easy that you could write a job description and then be a CEO, everybody would be doing it. And, you know, so it's really like for you to find your own path. And what I think there's kind of course, there's more than 2 types of people in the world, but if I was going to say there was 2 types of people in the world, there are those that need kind of quite a well-defined structure and well-defined boundaries, and there are those people that just need a wide open horizon. And if you give the people that need boundaries a wide open horizon, they literally stop and they don't know what to do. It's like a rabbit in the headlights and they don't know what to do, and vice versa. If you give me a very narrow boundary, I'm not happy. I can do it, you know, because I've done it in the past where people have said, this is what I want you to do, and this is exactly how I want you to do it. And I can do it, but it's not where I'm most happy. I'm most happy where I've got a wide open horizon and I get given a target like make $1 billion, and I'll try and find a way.
Do you think that there is a kind of step-by-step guide on how to become a CEO? Do you think that's something that can exist, it's different for everyone?
I've never found it.
Yeah.
So I like going to, there's a huge bookshop in the Dubai Mall, I go there, and I was there at the weekend, and I could spend all day in there. And it's I do buy some stuff, but I also treat it like a library. And I often pick up these kind of guidebooks and CEO books and how to do this and I read them, and I just think, oh, that's all obvious, but it doesn't tell you how to be one. And I just don't believe there is, because otherwise people are generally not bad at learning things. It's Pavlovian. So people would just read that book and then off they'd go and be a CEO. You know, you'd get, and I don't think there's a definitive guide. I don't think there's an age, point where you can be one or whatever. And that's why you get a 30-year-old CEO who's a billionaire or something, or he makes a fantastic company, or you'll get, I'm 52. I kind of, and when I go and meet people, I guess my peers. There's all kind of different ages, all different backgrounds, and there's just people that for some reason have managed to find a path to that point and create their own world. And that's what I feel like I've done. I've created my own reality.
There was a time, not so far back, where if you were in your mid-30s or early 40s and you were a CEO, it would raise a few eyebrows, wouldn't it? Like, isn't he a bit too young?
Well, people would think your dad owns the company. But that's one of the reasons, you asked me before about Dubai and why I think it's a good place, and it's because you only have to be good enough. So there's no real kind of hierarchy, or no, you can't do that because you didn't go to the right school. It's a place where if you're good enough, you can do it, you can be whatever you want. And I think that if you, like I just said, if you create your own reality, then this is the place to do it.